She will cheat on you if you make her feel invisible, not because she's cruel, not because she's shallow, but because you stop seeing her. You stop looking at her the way you did when you first met, when her smile lit up your world and her silence made you listen. Now, you scroll, you grunt, you grunt. You nod. She's not a woman anymore. She's background noise. And no woman, no matter how strong, wants to be background noise. She will cheat on you if you make her feel unheard. When her words bounce off your ego like bullets off steel, when your voice is always louder, your opinion always right, you don't just shut her up, you shut her down. And when she stops talking to you, understand this, she's already talking to someone else. Someone who listens. Someone who listens. Someone who gets it. Not because he's better, because he cares. She will cheat on you if you make her feel unworthy. You throw around criticism like confetti. A too emotional, a too needy, too much. And yet, you once called those very things a magic. But now, you chip away at her light until she questions it herself. Let me be clear. She doesn't leave to find someone perfect. She leaves to remember she's worth something. She will cheat on you if she has to beg for affection. You think love is shown in our being there. But being there isn't enough if you're emotionally vacant. A woman will break inside before she ever cheats. She'll wait. She'll try. She'll fight. But when hugs become rare, when kisses are empty, when your touch feels like obligation, she doesn't feel loved. She feels trapped. And someone who feels trapped eventually finds a window. She will cheat on you if you treat her like a duty, not a desire. Don't confuse loyalty with passion. She wants to be wanted, not just needed. She wants your eyes to burn when they meet hers. She wants the tension, the thrill, the pulse of connection. And if your version of love is routine and your idea of intimacy is mechanical, don't act shocked when someone who wants her soul pulls her attention. And finally, she will cheat on you if you lose yourself. Because when you stop being the man she fell for, when your ambition dies, your curiosity fades, your fire dims, she doesn't just lose a partner, she loses a mirror of her own passion. Women crave aliveness. If you stop evolving, she stops connecting. And when connection dies, everything else follows. So no, it's not about her being unfaithful. It's about you being forgetful. Forgetful of her worth. Forgetful of her power. Forgetful of what it takes to keep a woman's heart. Because a woman doesn't cheat when she finds someone better. She cheats when you make her feel like she doesn't matter. She will cheat on you if you make her feel invisible. And no, this isn't about vanity. It's about being seen, truly seen, noticed, valued. When she walks into the room and you don't even lift your eyes. When her energy shifts and you don't ask why. When her new haircut, her tired eyes, her quiet tears go unacknowledged, you're teaching her that her presence is background noise. Not just in the big moments, but in the 1,000 quiet ones you overlook. She notices when your phone has your attention more than she does. She notices when your compliments dry up, when your eyes don't light up anymore. When the warmth you once gave freely now feels rationed. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's slow, subtle, dangerous. Invisibility in a relationship isn't about absence. It's about neglect. You're there. But are you really there? There is a difference between sharing space and sharing connection. When she speaks, do you hear her? Or do you just wait for her to finish? When she's excited, do you celebrate her? Or do you dismiss it like it's trivial? Every time you fail to acknowledge her wins, her pain, her effort, it chips away at the bond you think is unbreakable. You don't need to hurt her to lose her. You just need to ignore her. And someone else? Someone out there is paying attention. Someone out there sees her. Not just her body, her energy, her soul, her presence. And when you stop seeing her, you open the door for someone else to step in and witness her. Think back. When you first fell for her, you saw everything. Her laugh was music. Her quirks were charming. Her dreams were electric. She glowed because you looked at her like she was the sun. But over time, routine dulled your vision. You started looking through her, not at her. You started treating her attention like it was guaranteed, her efforts like they were owed. The same woman who once captivated you became someone you stopped truly noticing. And that silence, your silence, is louder than any argument. It says, you don't matter enough to be seen. And it's not just about grand gestures. It's in the everyday, the way you speak to her or don't, the way you touch her or stop, the way you acknowledge her presence or fail to. Love is a living thing. It demands nurturing, attention, awareness. When you ignore the little things, you kill the feeling. You can say, I love you 100 times. But if your actions say, I don't see you, she will believe that instead. Women are emotionally intuitive. She can feel the shift before you even notice it. And when she feels unseen long enough, she starts to wonder, what would it feel like to be looked at again? To be cherished? To be someone's priority instead of their afterthought? And it's not about her being weak or selfish. It's about human need. Every human being craves recognition, especially from the one person who's supposed to know them best. When you stop reflecting her beauty back to her, not just physical beauty, but the beauty of her heart, her mind, her soul, you make her forget it's there. You dim her light by refusing to acknowledge it. And when someone else enters her life and says, I see you, I feel you, you move me, those words are oxygen to a suffocating heart. She doesn't go looking for it. But if it comes to her and you've stopped being what she needs, she might not resist it. This isn't about blame. It's about responsibility. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to read her mind. But if you love her, show her every day with presence, with attention, with curiosity. She's not the same woman she was when you met her. She's evolving, growing, hurting, glowing. Do you still see that? Do you still ask her about her dreams, her fears, her fire? Or have you become so comfortable that you assume she'll always be there, even when you stop showing up? Love that's taken for granted becomes love that's lost. And when a woman feels invisible in her own relationship, don't be surprised when she finds someone who sees her. A slow death in speaking your truth and watching it fall flat, unheard, like it didn't matter. And women, they feel that. They carry conversations in their hearts, not just in their heads. When she speaks, she's not just talking, she's sharing. And when you cut her off, when you roll your eyes, when you brush off her emotions as a drama or overreacting, You're not just silencing her voice, you're silencing her existence. Communication isn't about fixing things. If she can't feel heard with you, she'll stop talking to you. And when she stops talking, believe this, she's already started talking to someone else. You may think you're listening, but are you hearing her? Or are you waiting for her to pause so you can speak? True listening is presence. It's leaning in, not just with your body, but with your energy. It's about letting her finish her sentence, even if it makes you uncomfortable. It's about holding space when she's unraveling, not trying to stitch her up with logic or judgment. All it takes is constant correction, constant comparison, or indifference. And when that happens, she doesn't just lose trust in you, she loses trust in herself. And that damage runs deep. In the beginning, you celebrated her. You saw her flaws as fire. Her quirks were magic. You uplifted her, empowered her, made her feel like a goddess. But now you nitpick. Now you roll your eyes when she gets passionate. Now you tease her in ways that cut deeper than you realize. She starts hiding pieces of herself. She shrinks. She censors. She smiles less. And all the while, she's grieving the woman she used to be around you, the one who felt radiant. Because that version of her, she doesn't show up where she doesn't feel safe. It's not about perfection. No one is asking you to worship her blindly. But when all you offer is critique without kindness, feedback without affection, presence without praise, you build a prison around her. A woman in love will give endlessly. She'll pour into you, lift you, nurture you. But even the strongest woman can't carry a connection where she constantly feels inadequate. Love should be a place of growth, not a place of doubt. If your words aren't planting seeds of self-belief, they're planting insecurity. And insecurity doesn't stay hidden forever. It spills into every part of who she is. And here's the part that stings. Someone else out there will remind her who she is. Not by being better than you, but by simply appreciating what you've forgotten. He'll notice her laugh. He'll admire her strength. He'll make her feel seen without her having to try so hard. And suddenly, she'll start remembering her own worth. Not because he gives it to her, but because he reflects it back. And in that reflection, she feels whole again. That's not infidelity driven by lust. It's a woman reclaiming herself after being emotionally starved in a relationship that made her feel small. You want loyalty, feed her spirit, speak to her strengths, hold her when she's doubting herself, and remind her of her fire. Don't just love her, affirm her. Let your words be the mirror that reminds her she's powerful, she's capable, she's worthy. Because if you don't, someone else will. And when a woman feels like a burden more than a blessing, when she feels judged more than cherished, when she feels tolerated instead of celebrated, she won't beg to stay. She'll walk toward the light, wherever it is. She will cheat on you if she has to beg for affection. Affection isn't a luxury, it's a language. And when you stop speaking it, she starts forgetting what love feels like. You used to touch her like she mattered, hold her, to just because, kiss her forehead. Now, robotic, conditional. She has to ask you to hold her hand. mind you that she needs affection. Do you know what that does to a woman's spirit? It breaks it. It makes her question her worth. It makes her wonder if she's still beautiful, still wanted, still desirable. And that doubt, that quiet ache in her chest, it doesn't go away. It finds somewhere else to be heard. Women don't beg for affection because they're needy. They beg because something that was once freely given has now become withheld. You used to pull her close with fire in your eyes. You used to text her just to say she's on your mind. You used to crave her touch, not just for sex, but for closeness. Now you're too tired, too distracted, too used to her presence to realize she still needs to feel chosen. And when she has to ask for the very things that made her feel safe, loved and secure in your arms, it doesn't feel like love anymore. It feels like rejection wrapped in routine. Affection is how she reads your heart. It's the unsaid, I see you. It's the silent, I'm here with you. It's how she measures emotional weather when the kisses fade, when the hugs feel empty, when your hands forget how to reach for her first. She starts noticing the shift. She wonders if she's the problem, if she's changed, if she's become unworthy of desire. And this mental spiral, it's heavy. It follows her into bed, into the mirror, into every silent dinner where your eyes are on your phone instead of her. Until she doesn't just miss your affection, she grieves it. You think being in the same room means you're present. You think paying bills or showing up to dinner is enough. But a woman in love doesn't just want your presence. She wants your intimacy. Not just physical, but emotional, spiritual, energetic. She wants your gaze to linger. She wants your touch to feel intentional. She wants your words to remind her that she's still the woman who made your heart race. And if she has to ask for a hug, if she has to schedule time for connection, if she's the only one reaching, it becomes lonely. Not just physically, but profoundly. And someone out there? Someone who doesn't have your history, your memories, or your life together. He's paying attention. He touches her hand just a second longer. He compliments her when you don't. He makes her feel like she's still seen. And no, she's not looking for him. She's looking for you, the way you used to be. But when that version of you disappears for too long, and her efforts go unnoticed, and her love feels one-sided, she begins to respond to the warmth she's been missing. Not because she wants to cheat, but because she wants to feel again. So understand this. Affection isn't optional. It's the pulse of a relationship. When you stop reaching for her, she starts drifting. When you stop making her feel adored, she starts questioning everything. It's not about grand romantic gestures. It's about the everyday, the way you look at her in the morning, the way you say her name, the way you remind her in little ways that she is still the one. And when that fades, so does her ability to keep holding on alone. Because no woman wants to beg for love. She wants to bask in it. Nah. And if she can't find that with you, she'll eventually find it somewhere else. She will cheat on you if you no longer inspire her. A woman doesn't just want stability. She wants vitality, growth, movement, energy. She wants to look at you and feel pulled into a future that excites her, not dragged through a present that drains her. When she met you, there was fire, ambition, curiosity, a vision. You had dreams, and she saw herself in them. But now, You've settled, stopped reaching, stopped dreaming, stopped dreaming. And when you stop evolving, you stop being magnetic. She doesn't need you to be perfect, but she needs to feel something when she looks at you, something bigger than bills, work, and repeating the same day over and over again. If you've stopped growing, you've stopped leading. And if you're not leading, don't be surprised when she starts walking. Just not with you. A woman is drawn to motion, to purpose, to the man who wakes up hungry for life. She wants to be with someone who challenges her, inspires her, fuels her, not someone who's always tired, always complaining, always making excuses. Yes, life gets hard. Yes, we get burned out. But the moment you lose your spark, the moment your ambition dies quietly under routine and comfort, the relationship starts to decay too. Because love is a four. And if one of you goes stagnant, the energy starts leaking out. She starts looking for inspiration elsewhere, in books, in people, in new environments, and sometimes in someone who makes her remember what possibility feels like. It's not about money. It's not about status. It's about drive. It's about waking up with a mission, even a small one. She wants to see you chasing something, improving, learning, building, not because you have to impress her, but because you still have that fire in your chest. That fire. It's what made her fall in love. It's what made her believe in you. And when you let it go out, when all you do is come home, sit down, scroll, complain, she doesn't feel safe. She feels stuck. A woman who's growing needs a man who's moving. Not perfect, but progressing. And it's not just about your goals. It's about how you see her goals too. When she tells you about a passion, a dream, a wild idea, and you roll your eyes or dismiss it, you're shrinking her world. When she wants to take a class, start a business, change careers, and you tell her to be realistic, what she hears is, "Oh, don't grow, stay small." And if she can't be expansive with you, she'll seek expansion elsewhere, not out of disloyalty, but out of hunger. Emotional, intellectual, spiritual hunger. Because the right partner doesn't just accept your growth, they ignite it. There's a difference between being comfortable and being complacent. Comfort is warmth. Complacency is decay. She wants a man who evolves, who keeps becoming, who's willing to stretch even when it's hard. And if you used to be that man, if she remembers a version of you who dreamed big, fought hard, and lit up the room, and now all she sees is apathy, that contrast cuts deep. She didn't fall in love with someone who quit on himself. And when a woman watches you give up on your own potential, she wonders if you'll give up on hers too. Someone else out there is alive, lit up, hungry. And when she's around that kind of energy, when someone looks her in the eye and says, "What do you really want? What lights you up?" she feels seen. She feels invited into her own greatness. If you've stopped asking those questions, if you've stopped pushing her forward, if you've become the weight instead of the wind, don't be shocked when she looks for air. Because a woman who's starving for inspiration doesn't betray you to leave you. She leaves to find herself. And sometimes another man becomes the mirror that reminds her what she's truly capable of. She will cheat on you if she feels emotionally abandoned. You might be there physically, sharing a bed, a house, a routine. But if your heart isn't present, if your soul has clocked out, she will feel utterly alone. Emotional abandonment isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like silence in the middle of her vulnerability. Sometimes it's you changing the subject when she tries to open up. Sometimes it's the way you avoid eye contact when she's crying, or the way you offer logic when she needs love. When you no longer connect with her emotionally, when you stop checking in with her inner world, she starts living in hers, without you. And in that lonely space, all it takes is one person who genuinely sees her to crack the door open. Emotional abandonment is more painful than physical absence because at least when someone's gone, you know what's missing. But when someone is right there next to you, yet unreachable, that kind of detachment cuts deeper than words can describe. You stop asking about her thoughts. You stop being curious about her feelings. You assume she's fine just because she hasn't said otherwise. But a woman who constantly has to prompt you to care, to ask, to notice, will eventually stop asking altogether. And when her emotional needs are dismissed or ignored long enough, they don't go away. They find a new place to land. There's a difference between hearing and holding. She doesn't just want someone to hear her pain. She wants someone to hold it with her. Sit in it. Be in it. Feel it with her. Emotional abandonment happens when she's hurting and you offer distance instead of depth. It happens when she's excited and you respond with indifference. When she's struggling and you tell her to just get over it. You may think you're being strong, but strength isn't in emotional detachment. It's an emotional presence. And if you can't meet her in her highs and lows, someone else will. Someone who holds her hand, not just when she's happy, but when she's unraveling. She wants to feel emotionally safe, not judged, not fixed, not dismissed. She wants to know that her emotions won't scare you, won't push you away, won't make you shut down. If she has to walk on eggshells to share what's on her mind, if she starts self-editing to avoid your withdrawal, if she begins keeping things to herself just to avoid being met with apathy, that's not love. That's loneliness in disguise. And loneliness inside a relationship. That's a slow, brutal erosion. It doesn't break the heart, it drains it. And it's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. You used to ask how her day was. Now you grunt and go back to your phone. You used to notice when something was off. Now you say, you're always emotional. You used to lean in when she needed comfort. Now you say, you'll be fine. Each moment may seem small to you, but to her, each one chips away at trust. Each one becomes proof that you no longer care about her inner world. And someone else, even in a brief moment, who asks how she's really doing and actually listens, can feel like water to a woman who's been emotionally parched for months. No woman wants to beg for emotional connection. She wants to be chosen, felt, understood, felt. When that emotional bridge collapses, she doesn't jump straight into another man's arms. She starts drifting there, through conversation, through comfort, through that one person who remembers how to be there. Be there without being told. It's not the betrayal that breaks her. It's the buildup of being emotionally left behind while still being physically next to you. If you don't speak her emotional language, she'll eventually find someone fluent in it. Not because she's weak, not because she's selfish, but because emotional starvation makes even the smallest attention feel like a feast. She will cheat on you if you make her feel unseen, not invisible in the room, but invisible in your world. When her efforts go unnoticed, when her emotions go unacknowledged, when her essence is treated like background noise, she begins to disappear inside the relationship. You may see her body, you may hear her voice. But if you no longer feel her, if you've stopped truly looking at her, you've already lost the connection. A woman doesn't need a man to fix everything. But she needs to be recognized. She needs to feel that her presence matters, that her energy is felt, moves you. Because the moment she becomes just another part of the furniture, she starts aching to be seen again. In the beginning, you noticed everything. How she laughed without holding back, how her nose crinkled when she smiled, how her energy could shift the entire mood of a room. You made her feel like art, like poetry, like the most alive thing you'd ever encountered. But somewhere along the way, you stopped paying attention. You got used to her magic, took it for granted, stopped celebrating the little things that made her uniquely her. And when that happens, she starts shrinking, not because she's changed, but because your gaze no longer reflects her fullness. And when a woman feels unseen, she doesn't just feel unloved, she feels erased. It's not about compliments or flattery. It's about presence. It's about noticing when she's off before she says a word. It's about seeing the weight behind her silence. It's about being curious about her shifts, her passions, her inner world. When you stop seeing her, she starts wondering if she's become forgettable. If she's just there to serve a role, partner, wife, mother, roommate, but no longer herself. And when that question starts haunting her, it changes everything. Her self-worth, her confidence, her sense of belonging, and that loneliness, it doesn't stay quiet. It screams behind her smile, behind her routine, behind every "I'm fine." You may say you love her. You may think your loyalty is enough. But if she has to keep reminding you of who she is, what she needs, then love becomes labor. It becomes exhausting. A woman doesn't want to demand your attention. She wants to inspire it. She wants to walk into the room and feel your eyes soften because she's still the one. Not because she did something for you. Not because she dressed up, but because she exists. And that's enough for you to notice. If your eyes don't light up for her anymore, if your voice doesn't change when you say her name, she will feel the absence of that deeply, even if you're standing right next to her. And it's not just about you. It's about who she becomes when she is seen. When she's reflected back with admiration, with presence, with reverence, she shines, she softens, she opens. A woman in her fullness is electric, but she needs a mirror that shows her the truth of that. When you no longer hold that mirror, when you no longer affirm her value through your energy, your focus, your attention, she begins to seek that reflection elsewhere. And she may not be looking for it, but it only takes one moment, one person, one glance from someone who sees her for her to feel alive again. And that feeling, it's addictive. This isn't about betrayal, it's about connection. When a woman steps outside the lines of loyalty, it's rarely because she's bored or careless. It's because she's hungry for recognition, for emotional resonance, for the sense that she is not fading in a life that once lit her. And when another soul enters her world and reflects her back to herself with clarity, warmth, and awe, she doesn't just feel desired, she feels real again, not a shadow, not a duty, not an afterthought, but a woman. And once she remembers that feeling, once she feels seen after being invisible for so long, it becomes harder and harder to return to a place where she feels like a ghost in her own life. She will cheat on you if she stops feeling safe to be herself. Not just physically safe, emotionally safe. That's the foundation. That's where trust is born. That's where real connection breathes. When a woman feels like she has to filter her thoughts, silence her emotions, or tiptoe around your ego just to keep the peace, she's not thriving, she's surviving. And survival isn't love. Isn't love. It's fear dressed up as loyalty. If she feels judged every time she opens up, if she senses she's a too muchy, or a too emotional, or a never enough, she'll start building walls. Invisible ones. And the moment she can no longer be her full, messy, radiant, complex self with you, that's the moment intimacy starts to die. She wants to be able to unravel in front of you without shame. Rage without being labeled crazy. Dream without being mocked. She wants to share her wild ideas, her weird thoughts, her spiritual questions, her childhood wounds, and know that she won't be ridiculed or rejected. That's real safety. When she talks about what scares her, what hurts her, what drives her, and instead of minimizing or fixing, you listen. You hold space. You say, tell me more. But that kind of presence doesn't just build trust. It builds forever. Because a woman who feels seen, heard, and emotionally protected, she blooms. But when you roll your eyes at her feelings, when you tell her she's overreacting, when you weaponize her vulnerability in later arguments, something inside her closes, slowly, quietly. You may not even notice it at first. She still smiles. She still shows up. But she starts editing herself. Not because she wants to lie, but because she no longer feels safe telling the truth. That self-editing? That's the beginning of disconnection. And disconnection is dangerous because all it takes is someone else. Someone who says, "Whew, dear, not too much. I love your fire. I admire your truth." And suddenly, she remembers what emotional safety is like. A woman's softness is not weakness, it's her strength. But it can't exist in a place that punishes vulnerability. If she's met with sarcasm every time she opens up, if her emotions are treated like a burden, if her deepest thoughts are used against her in moments of tension, she will stop giving you access to her soul. And when she feels she has to protect herself from you instead of feeling protected by you, the foundation cracks. You can't build a home, silence and suppression. You can't sustain a relationship where truth is unsafe. Love without emotional safety is a house with no roof. It can't weather anything. And here's the thing, someone out there will. Make her feel safe again. Maybe not intentionally, maybe not even romantically at first. But if another person becomes the one she turns to when she can't talk to you, if he becomes the space where she can finally exhale, express, unravel, then you've already lost part of her. Not because she's disloyal, but because she's human. And humans go where they feel safe, love. You may be holding her body, but someone else might be holding her truth. And that is more intimate than sex. That is where the real bond lives. And once that bond forms, it's not easy to undo. So if you want to keep her close, let her be fully her. Don't flinch at her fire. Don't shut down her storms. Don't punish her for her truth. Instead, create a space where she can bring it all. The messy, the magical, the wounded, the wild. Where she doesn't have to shrink, censor, or pretend. Because the moment she has to dim her light to keep your love, she'll start looking for a place where her full glow is welcome. Emotional safety isn't just nice to have, it's essential. It's the oxygen of intimacy. And without it, love suffocates. Quietly, slowly, completely. So hear this. If you want her, see her. If you love her, show up for her. Not with empty words or temporary gestures, but with depth, with consistency, with presence. A woman doesn't walk away because of one bad day. She walks away because her soul was starving and no one noticed. She cheats not for thrill, but for resonance, for connection, for the feeling of being alive again. So don't wait until she's already gone to realize what you had. Don't wait for another man to remind her of her worth, before you remember how much she matters. Because once she finds a place where her fire is welcomed, her truth is honored, and her essence is held, she won't come back to where she had to dim to fit. Wake up, rise up, or step aside